Our quest to learn about boat manufacturing took us to Flippin, Arkansas, home of Vexus Boat. The Vexus story is a combination of rich history and the latest modern technology.
The story starts with Forrest and Nina Wood, who were the pioneers of bass boat manufacturing and founded Ranger Boats in 1968. That company underwent an ownership change in 2014. A few years later, several former members of the Ranger Boat team set out with a new vision, starting with a blank slate and building on it a company and factory that merged centuries of boat building experience with today's latest technology to unleash their passion for excellence.
Let's take a tour and see where that vision has led. This is Ryan, our guide for the tour.
And this is Keith Daffron. He is president of Vexus Boats and the grandson of Forrest and Nina Wood. The Vexus team couldn't have been more welcoming, and we aren't even in the market for a boat.
But I'm working on changing that.
That right there is Forrest and Nina Wood. And Forrest started Ranger way back 56 years ago now. Something around there. But what he did is he built the legend that was Ranger Boats. And granted, they still continue to put out good vessels. But whenever Johnny Morris bought that out and they backed away from Ranger, what they did is they helped come over here and start this. A little bit of the backstory, Keith kind of went into it. Like I said, he stole my thunder. Where we're sitting right here is pasture land that they used to own. And it looked just like that right across the street. So what they did is they sold it to this company. They broke ground, put this state-of-the-art facility in so we can build upon what they did over there 56 years ago. Now, unfortunately, both of them have passed within the last 4 or 5 years. But we wanted to make sure that they were forever characterized within this facility. So we had somebody commissioned to paint that. So, and this will stay out here forever. It is why we're here. It's a big part of the culture of what we've built here. And we're just leaning on what they've done over the years and years and years within this industry to continue to put out state-of-the-art boating vessels.
This is the company cafeteria and break room, and it's the one everyone uses, which helps build the team atmosphere. Vexus believes that teamwork and comfortable working conditions result in better boats, so they invest a lot into creating a great working atmosphere, including climate control throughout the entire factory. All the fiberglass parts for the boat start out as carefully maintained molds, including the big parts like hulls all the way down to the deck lids. From here, they get gel coat and fiberglass.
Fiberglass department. This is where we're making the magic happen on our fiberglass boats. And this is our main difference between us and any other manufacturer in the way we do things to build these bass fishing boats. When we get up in there, I'll be able to show you what we call infused composite construction. I like to call it bag molding. It's so much easier to say, and rolls off the tongue quite a bit better. But that's this entire process. So we'll make our way down that way to our gel coat and just follow it step by step as it moves through.
The prepped molds are taken to the spray booth.
The first thing they did, since this is a 2-part spray for this mold, he sprayed in that black layer. We let it cure out, and then we brought it back into this booth, and now he's given it the main color, this white. That's going to match one of these decks over here sitting behind us.
So this boat will have a black running surface, the hull sides will be white, then the tape for the pinstriping will be taken off, and it'll get painted with another gel coat, giving it a different pinstripe color. The brown stripe you see was hand taped before any gel coat was sprayed. Now that the white boat color has been sprayed in, the tape has been removed and the pinstripe gel coat can be sprayed on. Jumping past the fiberglass step for a bit, here are the parts after they've been removed from the mold, and we can see an example of finished pinstriping and accents. All of this was achieved with hand taping and applying the gel coat in layers. Owners get to pick colors to match their own style, and Vexus has a fun tool on their website that lets you customize the colors of the boat, seats, interior, trailer, and wheels. After the gel coat is cured, the mold gets fiberglassed.
All cleared up, cured out. What we do is we take these molds and move them up here. Right up in front of these booths is where we actually start building these fiberglass parts using that infused composite construction process. What that means is we take cut fiberglass matting and lay it layer upon layer within these molds to build up our desired thickness of fiberglass. And then we'll pull a plastic bag over top of it to create a vacuum, which then we infuse the resin through that instead of spraying it in. That gives us a much more consistent and quality part rather than chopping in fiberglass and resin and rolling it out with a roller.
The first layer added is a thin layer of chopped glass that bonds the gel coat more strongly to the structural layers that are about to be added.
So you can see down in here, it kind of looks a little reddish. So that's that chopped fiberglass layer that to keep this gel coat from releasing. It's a cosmetic thing. We don't do it for any structural integrity. It's just to help this boat look more like it should.
Next, layers of fiberglass blankets get added.
So Levi and Noah, what they're doing is they're actually building the strength into this boat by laying in this cut fiberglass matting. The great thing about this fiberglass matting is it's one solid structure instead of a whole chopped up feathered rather than a whole bunch of different pieces. It is cut on a CNC machine in our trailer facility and brought over, so they don't have to trim near as much as they used to, and they can just lay it right in place where it needs to go. Everything is numbered, and they know exactly where it's supposed to lay in for training.
A special adhesive holds the blanket in place until the resin can be added. Different fiberglass material is used for different parts of the boat.
This thick, heavy mat is used for the outside layer.
Then there's a mid-weight blanket and a lightweight layer. What mix of fiberglass each part of the boat gets is designed to maximize the needed strength and minimize weight. Areas like the bow eye that see extra force get additional strength.
But you can see this bulge right here, that thick bulge. That is layer upon layer upon layer of aluminum to make sure that bow eye's got a good support structure. And then you can see those squares of aluminum on the back end of the transom there.
The transoms are constructed of layer upon layer of infused composite constructed fiberglass, reinforced with aluminum at key points, and added knee braces distribute forces across a wide, strong support base and reduce vibration. The next key structure is the stringer, which is a fiberglass bracing system that runs the length of the hull.
And then what we like to do is we like to overbuild these boats for the sake of quality. We'll hand lay fiberglass around the flames of every part within this boat as a double security on top of that plastic.
The stringer gives strength in all directions and provides rigidity needed for a smooth, fast ride. It also supports the deck. The deck is made from the same infusion process.
I wonder what this is going to be.
So this is a DVX, that big boat we had out there in the front. This is the deck for it. It looks a little weird because we build our decks upside down. As a safety for our guys, they don't have to reach down in there and build boxes. They can stand on the mold and do it themselves. So we're saving our backs here.
Like the hull, custom-cut fiberglass blankets are fitted onto the deck.
Here in this tray is a different kind of fiberglass that helps the resin infuse into this. So it's not quite as thick as all this other white fiberglass that you see. And then they've also laid in the tubing.
Let's explain the tubing and infusion that Ryan is talking about.
When a part has all of its fiberglass and any additional structural components in place, it's ready for the infused composite construction process. Tubing has been strategically placed on the part. You'll see why in just a bit. The part is placed in a plastic vacuum bag. The vacuum bag has ports. Some allow epoxy resin to flow in, and some are for air to be sucked out. The goal of this tubing system is to evenly apply resin across the entire part. Too little resin in an area would make it weaker, and too much resin would be adding additional weight.
Get working here. That is so cool. Those are air pockets that are going to be pulled, and you can kind of see them moving already, into that spiral tubing. The spiral tubing is your excess ports.
This vacuum infusion process allows engineered precision level control for the design strength and weight balance. It also produces highly consistent, highly repeatable parts. Optimized resin use results in a 2-to-1 fiberglass to resin ratio, or approximately 65% fiberglass content to 35% resin.
The deck gets fitted with additional boxes, rod holders, and tubing for cables.
What we've done is we've gone just a step farther than what you see on our hull side. We've laid in our tubing for all of your electronics to run through. You have your rod tubes that are mounted into your fiberglass parts as well. We've laid in our boxes, all of our drainage, all the drainage tubing. So we're prepping this boat to be moved into quality control now. Anything that needs to be any more secured, like these tubes, we're going to hand lay that fiberglass over top of it instead of mounting it in with a screw or a metal piece like that, keeping it fiberglass.
Then foam gets added. The foam does several things, including add buoyancy, sound dampening, and insulation.
That's all hardened out, cured. But it's pumped up underneath every piece of this transom, inside of your stringer system, underneath your stringer system, on both sides, as well as foaming your deck. And this you can really get a good feel and see of what we're doing.
You may be wondering why the bottom of the hull, the keel, isn't getting foam. Part of that area is where the fuel tanks go. Putting them long ways in the center bottom of the hull gives the boat a lower center of gravity, better balances the weight from front to back, and avoids the side-to-side sloshing of widthwise tanks, which is further reduced by internal baffling.
Once everything is cured, the pieces are removed from their molds.
3 days since the process started with an empty mold, the hull and the deck are ready to be married together.
Easier, but once we finally get these two pieces to fit together, and it fits like a latex glove on your hand, there is almost zero room for error. We take more of that epoxy and put up underneath that flange where these two pieces are set together, let it cure, and then we'll run hardware into it, these screws. So on a lot of other manufacturers' boats, you'd see screws every 3-4 inches. Ours are 2.5 foot spaced apart because of that epoxy. It's so strong, it's going to hold those two pieces together, meaning we don't have to use as much hardware within this boat whatsoever.
Now is a good time to hear a little bit about hull design.
Is we've taken the hull and added a chine to it, made that chine very, very sharp. But we've also increased the dead rise at the bow of the boat, which means the depth is much deeper than back there on the stern side. As you ride across the water, the bow of your boat is going to contact wakes and waves before you ever do at the back end, meaning you're going to feel a flatter ride than ever before. With those sharper chines to it, when you take your turns, you're able to corner and turn a lot better than with the one chine or the less chines that aren't quite as sharp. So we've made this more pronounced and added a reverse chine to it that I forgot to mention a second ago, which adds a little air underneath your boat as a suppression system, as well as directs water spray back down to the source. So it's a little bit driver ride as well.
These boats on rotisseries are actually part of quality control and touch-up.
Need to be sequenced into quality control. Like I said, we've only got one crew running that. and they take their time looking through all of these boats to make sure we're hitting our marks in terms of quality. So they do bottleneck for our fiberglass quite a bit since it is such an intricate process to build these, down to every spray looking perfect, making sure there's no cracking, spider webbing, chipping, whatever have you with the pulling process. So we're going to take our time and all of our dedication to make sure that these boats go out the door looking like they need to be looking.
When you see this boat, you might think that the gel coat went crazy wrong. But this boat was actually ordered with the hard case paint option. This option lets you match virtually any color you want, including matching your truck.
For more about this option, see the link in the video's description.
Quality checked and touched up, these boats are ready to proceed to assembly and finishing. But before we show you that, let's see how their aluminum boats get to the same point, and then we'll follow them both through finishing. Aluminum boats are lighter and cheaper, but traditionally that has come at the expense of less stability, noisier, difficulty handling rough water, and a rougher finished look than their fiberglass counterparts. Vexus has worked on a design to close that performance gap while maintaining the weight and affordability advantages of aluminum.
The aluminum production floor is walled off from the rest of the factory.
Coils of aluminum are unrolled onto a long plasma table bed where computer controls cut out all of the pieces needed for the boat.
This machine is fast and precise.
These are some hull pieces that have been cut out. The bends you see come from a massive press brake. This thing is so massive, it had to be placed and the factory built around it. Its tonnage capacity is way beyond what the aluminum needs, but its 24-foot bed allows them to make 22-foot long boats. The parts get sent to one of 3 production lines, one for bass boats, one for multi-species boats, and one for center console models. As it's being welded up, you can see an all-padded hull bottom, which is designed to give the boat fiberglass performance, riding on top of the water and not being dragged through it.
So here's those ribs that I was talking about, and that's what's giving the boat this support structure to the bottom of it. We run it longitudinally nowadays to make sure that the full length of that beam is covering the full length of this boat.
The Vector Force transom is constructed of 1/8 inch aluminum and is reinforced with 60% more material than the industry standard, including knee braces.
So when you mount your bow or stern eyes in, it's going through this channel. Your motor is mounted through this as well. And then on top of this, what we're going to do is we're going to take what we call our knee braces, and I don't know if that boat has any, so I'll do this. Oh, wow. It sits there flush with this channel, ties all the way down through the bottom of the transom to this rib.
This is a test tank where the hulls are tested to be leak-free before they can proceed. These jigs make sure that nothing warps due to heating in the welding process.
This jig right here, what it's doing is we'll take this pneumatic arm, press down on it, it presses this hole flat. And we'll use that through the entirety of the hole just to make sure there's one point in which that starts rolling up on us.
So that being steady state, that's just to keep it kind of flat. They press it down and keep it flat while they do the welds.
Just a little jig that we use. So like I said, the dead rise on all of our boats is increased at the bow of your boat. That's what's keeping it from breaking any of these welds. We'll do so on the back end there just to firm up where you're laying and riding on the water.
Additional parts needed to make the boat are being made in this area and will get sequenced into the production lines as the boat gets more complete.
Here's a look inside the hull right before the deck gets added.
Next, it goes to TIG welding. This is where the welds that show are done, and they are works of art. Looking at the hull of the boat, you don't see any heat penetration marks from the assembly welding.
Those are pretty welds, aren't they?
Our TIG welder is amazing. He's a very good welder.
We should also point out that stretched form gunnels run around the perimeter of the boat, giving it a more refined look than your typical aluminum boat.
Then the fiberglass boxes get added, and the rod holders. Foam gets added next, and listen to the difference. Before foam. After foam.
Live wells and coolers get foam around them too for thermal insulation. This hull has just come from the next step, which is sanding, which preps the boat for painting. A quick acid wash removes dust and mill scale, leaving the surface clean and paint ready. Components that don't get paint are taped off and the boat is ready for the paint booth. In the first round, the primer and the bottom color get painted on. These booths are also ovens, which allows the paint to be cured at an ideal temperature. Before it goes into the second booth, it gets taped off and the next colors will be added. After the paint booth is when the aluminum lines and the fiberglass lines merge as they enter the finishing area. The finishing area of the factory is where the carpet, plumbing, fuel tanks, lids, electronics, motors, seats, controls, and all other accessories get added.
There are 4 lines, 2 for aluminum and 2 for fiberglass.
So you'll see these boats with all the rigging and wiring now coming into play. And as I was saying, it all runs through that tubing dedicated, so you don't have bird nesting or anything hanging wide and loose, cutting itself on these aluminum edges or any edges within this boat. We're also carpeting our boats here. This carpet is cut on that same CNC machine as our fiberglass pad is. So all our guys have to do is take it off the rack, stick it with some glue, and down it goes right in place.
There are other deck covering options besides carpet.
This reflex flooring is an option that we offer. Mm-hmm. You can get this boat carpeted, or you can get it with this rubber padding.
I see.
Maintenance on this is much easier than it is on true carpet.
Mm-hmm.
Your hooks don't catch up in this. Dirt and debris don't catch up in this. Really, all you need is Dawn dish soap and a garden hose, and you can clean this out.
Good.
Now, unfortunately, it will stain just like carpet does with fish blood.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the beast on that, but you can get it to a point where that fades quickly.
Sure.
The trolling motor pedal is recessed into the deck, making it more comfortable to operate and reducing the likelihood of it being a trip hazard.
The seats have air cushion suspension for a smooth ride.
There's a pneumatic system up underneath this seat that suppresses whenever you hit wakes and waves, so it's a much smoother ride on your back. You don't get jarred. Our live well has changed quite a bit. This is something that we're working on a patent for. It's called the Intensive Care Live Well System. What it did is it added these acrylic lids to your live well. So when you have fish in there, if you're tournament fishing, you can fill that live well completely full of water, and it keeps your fish suspended in a stasis. So as you ride along the water, you're not just throwing those fish around and killing them anymore. They're stuck there, and you have your pot for the day when you get to your weigh-in, and you don't have dead fish.
The live wells have a barrier between them so that you can separate species, and the clear acrylic lid lets you check on the fish without opening the lid and letting them jump out.
We mount these motors, we tune these motors, and we run these motors all in-house. We'll kick them over to make sure they run. We'll tune them to make sure they're running properly.
When everything is installed and looking good, it's still not done. Its next stop is the test tank, where everything is given a final checkout.
So the aluminum, when there's a preliminary flow test, but it's going to go, because this is another aluminum, right?
Yes, sir.
It's going to get up here too.
Absolutely. And then we have one of our lead engineers. He'll take a boat or two out of every batch of boats that are coming through, and we'll actually take them to the lake and run them. I asked him how to get that job, and he said put 65 years on. By my count, I've got 62 left before I can start doing that.
Maybe he'll need one a day off. There is a 100-plus point checklist that has to be signed off on before it's allowed to leave the factory.
There were so many great boats, it was tough to pick my favorite. Dad says I'm about 1 million subscribers shy of being ready to buy one. That's a hint to like and subscribe, by the way. In the meantime, if you know somebody giving demos of the ADX200, I'm ready to ride. And for colors, how aggy can we make it? Thanks, Ryan and Keith.
We sure enjoyed our tour of your impressive factory and meeting your even more impressive team.
See you on our next adventure.